Welcome. Today we're speaking with Vince Reardon, author of the new book, The Pocket Mentor, Insider Tips from America's Most Successful People. Why did you write The Pocket Mentor?
I teach at a university, and I'm a mentor in a high school mentoring program. So I speak to students a lot. And I'm curious, what are they going to do when they grow up? What do they want to be when they grow up and they leave school? And I'm surprised that many of them, especially those in college, really don't have a good idea. And even those who do have a good idea really don't know how to get to where they want to go. I wrote The Pocket Mentor as a resource for these students to help them get where they want to go. Can you imagine having in your pocket a board of directors or a council of advisors that you can refer to time and time again for their advice, for their experience, for their tips? I think it could be a great resource for students as well as maybe others.
Now, is this book only for young adults?
That's a good question. When I sent out early drafts of the book to friends who are in mid-career executives, and even some retirees, they said that they found the book very interesting and helpful to them. So it sort of began to open my horizon, broaden my horizon for the potential audience for this book. I thought it was initially for millennials, and I think it is primarily for millennials, but I think it is also for mid-career executives or professionals who feel stagnant, who feel that they'd like to get on to the next chapter in their career or their next career, as well as for retirees who are post-career and are looking to not so much retire but refire their lives and perhaps even start a second career. So I think it appeals to many, many potential readers.
Why would someone be interested in reading this book?
I think someone would be interested in reading the book primarily for the people, to listen to the people in the book that are showcased in the book and what they have to say. I interviewed over a course of about 4 years, 101 notable Americans, men and women, not celebrities, although there are a couple of people in the book who, because of their tremendous prowess or performance, became celebrities, but I tended to avoid celebrities. These are people that have primarily made a difference in other people's lives. And I asked them just one question. I said, what one piece of advice do you wish you had heard when you were starting out after college, or when you're starting out in your life, in your business, in your career, in your profession? And did they dish? I've got lots and lots and lots of data points or pieces of advice. And I think that this book could be a real resource to those who read it.
Can you summarize what they told you?
The book took about 4, maybe 5 years to write, and I interviewed probably 150 people. From those 150, I chose 101. I don't know why 101, but it sounded right. And after the first year or two, I began seeing that the advice began to fall into 5 broad categories. I call them buckets. One reader emailed me and said that they're actually 5 pillars of wisdom. I like to think of them as buckets. And the 5 buckets would be these. Be yourself. Be a learner. Be for others. Be persistent. And be a risk taker. Now, some advice in the book, some of the people in the book give 5, 10 pieces of advice. So some of the advice overlaps from bucket to bucket. But there seem to be 5 distinct buckets. And I think that they all represent values that would help the reader on their path to find direction and their ultimate destination in life.
Who are some of the people in this book?
I find them fascinating for the most part. That was the joy of writing the book, was the opportunity of speaking to some of these people. I chose people from a wide variety of paths. On one hand, there's a Nobel laureate in physics. At the far end of the spectrum, there is a former gang member, gangbanger, who today is a conflict negotiator from the mean streets of Chicago. So we have someone who comes from the most elite, erudite circles of academia or of the science world to someone who is trying to help young people stay out of gangs and to put down violence, especially gun violence. And in between, there are musicians, composers, explorers, both of the ocean as well as space. There are some academics, medical researchers. There's one fellow who is an expert furniture maker. There's someone who is a world-renowned architect. There is the late, great Dave Brubeck, the jazz pianist and composer. A broad swath of fascinating people with a lot of life experience and a lot of good advice to share with my reader.
Thank you, Vince.
Thank you.